If you guys are watching this on Sunday, November 2nd, when this video drops, know that this afternoon, probably at 3 in the afternoon Central Standard Time, we're going to have a live stream book release party where we're giving away free books. Love Like His dropped this year. Can Bugger Catch a Bullfrog dropped this year. Plus we had 4 other ones, so that brings us up to 6. We'll be, I think, giving away some individual books, but then also giving somebody who's there at the live stream the opportunity to get the full 6-volume set of every book we've ever made. Armadillo Escape, Coop Invader, The Opossum You Never Knew, and Can Bugger Catch a Bullfrog are children's books. Then there's Why We Homestead, 50 Days to Understanding the End Times More Accurately, and the new novel Love Like His. So we'll see you this afternoon if you guys are able to make it. Enjoy the show. Welcome back to the Abundant Harvest Homestead. I'm Papa Pepper, and in this video I'm going to be talking a little bit about my pasture, which is also going to be for fruit trees. But basically, with the limited amount of land we have, I'm not going to be using my pastures for making hay. So since I'm not going to use them for making hay, that gives me an opportunity to run them a little differently, because I'm not going to have to worry about pulling big equipment through here. I don't mind being able to have access to my property with my truck and trailer, or my van and trailer, something like that. So I have some clear runways that I plan on keeping intact, keeping open as we continue to develop. But basically, these guys are part of what we're trying to have make sense on our homestead. Now, I don't want to be weed whacking and mowing the yard a whole bunch. So we have edible lawnmowers. They reproduce after their own kind. They fertilize as they go. My children have been known to milk them, and they give us wool. So that's really much better than just a small engine, gas and oil, making a lot of noise, having a labor-intensive maintenance for the areas that we need taken care of. Also, like if this is going to be an orchard for me, if I didn't have these animals, I would wind up with probably 3, 4, 5 foot tall weeds and grasses and stuff out here. But instead, they keep it really well manicured, and that's absolutely fantastic for me. When we bought the property, it came with trees like this. This one's a persimmon. I really wanted one. Let's see. Come on, ready? Ah, not all ripe today. And actually, fun fact, my children found out that this ram here, this 4-horn Jacob's ram, it will bump that tree to get the fruit to fall out so it can eat it. But some came with the property, and then since then we've been working on a number of things too. Ain't that right? So I have a couple different Asian persimmons we're testing. There was some dieback on these last year, but they made it through. Supposedly after they do that a little bit, then they'll be hardy and keep going. Also, this one's incredibly unpruned right now. But what that is that's a bunch of scion wood, because all this will be coming off down there. All this will. I'm running at least up to here, if not just keeping a single stem and getting up a little higher before I let it branch out, because the goal is that eventually that tree will be so big it can stand on its own with these guys running around it. If I let them have access to a little tree like this, they'll eat all the leaves and then they'll probably scrape up the whole thing and break it off and kill it. So I want it to get hardy enough, but when it does get hardy, I want it to come up and over. And they can kind of help prune anything that's too low, like they do with this mulberry there. But I want them to stand alone on their own, let the animals run through, have the food that we want from the fruit trees up and over them. They can eat the excess. If stuff, you know, is subpar. That guy loves fruit. In fact, I've got a pear in my pocket from one of the neighbor's trees. And I find myself not only to be a fruit grower, but now also a fruit explorer. When I encounter things that are out there, I want to know who they are. I want to know why it's doing so well in my area. I want to know if I can have it or its children. And by it, I mean getting a piece of scion wood and grafting onto our trees. By its children, I mean having something with seeds that then we can plant on our property. And hopefully it'll be something reasonable, something comparable. But this one here, these are still kind of crisp. But they are super tasty, and we enjoy them, but then these guys do too. And we can also use it for chicken feed or deer bait. Hunting season right now. I would have been out in the woods this morning if it wasn't raining so much. I think somebody wants some. A little bit of that? Do you want a bit of that? Not you. I know who does. You want some? What? Buddy. Smell. How is that? You're normally all about it. You know what? That guy really likes Asian pears. Apparently European pears not so much. But as I was talking about with this persimmon tree, you know, this is an Asian variety, and it can be grafted onto our native Diosporos virginia. This is a type of Diosporos khaki. And I'll let it just grow completely through its first season or two, and then I'm going to prune everything back this coming winter and take these and graft the scions into some more native stuff. We have so many Native American persimmons on this property that I definitely have a ton of rootstock. And then I can do things like this, where this is a native persimmon, but this one here is a Sayo variety. So I've got a different variety grafted onto it. In fact, it looks a little different, but just trying different things. Not all the grafts take. There was a coffee cake graft that did not take. As far as I know, it still could wake up. But I got to unwrap this guy and get it ready for winter, let it do its thing. And then utilize what we already had here at the property as well. And you can see this one's kind of bigger already. About 1.25 inches in diameter probably. And I'm having it grow out above where these guys can reach. This one here is going to get bigger. She's a little Hi-Dex, so her mother is a Dexter and her father is a Highland. And she actually went to go get bred, so we'll see how she does. And this tree here is a good example. I think this was probably a Cleveland Select. I don't think it was a Bradford, but it's one of the calorie pears. And what we did is we just grafted a bunch of different guys into it. This is a Magnus scion here, which some people claim is the best one out there. You know, I've got some Bartlett grafted onto it. The whole top here is actually one that I found in Harrison, Arkansas. So that's what it's going to be from there up. And we'll have some different branches of different things growing out below there. But from here up, this tree is going to be a variety that I found in Harrison, Arkansas. And when I tasted it, it was the best tasting one I'd ever had in my entire life. It was incredible. And I was really excited to see if it had seeds in it. It didn't have seeds in it. So I said, okay, well, no seeds. That gives me the opportunity to check back then in the dormant season. The person was kind enough to let me come right up next to their house, ask about the tree, find out what it was, because I didn't know who it was. It could have been some sort of Asian persimmon. It could have been some sort of apple. It could have been some sort of pear. I didn't know who it was. But I knocked on their door. they said, oh yeah, sure, feel free, grab some. So I grabbed some, was excited. It had no seeds. So I stopped back that winter when it was dormant and said, hey, you guys let me have some of those pears. It was fantastic. Could I possibly take a couple cuttings to graft onto my own property? Now I have that variety growing here. Very fantastic. Don't know who it was. The person didn't know who it was. The tree had been there a long time. It was pruned back. It had been diseased, they said, at some point in the past, but it made fantastic fruit. So now I have that here. And like I said, I don't just want to be a fruit grower, but I also want to be kind of a fruit explorer and finding what is out there that we can locate and enjoy and check out. Hey, how you doing? And then also now a plant breeder. So there's actually 5 of these pear trees right now. I think there's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There might be 6. That was of 10 I originally did. This is 2nd generation from seed in the Ozarks. I find a bunch that we've grown from seed far outperform the stuff that we buy at the store and plant at the nursery or the greenhouses. So this is an experiment, and I've got 5 different ones growing here from one that was grown from seed. So this is 2nd generation. I actually got some 3rd generation seeds already too, because I find that ones that grow in our area are absolutely fantastic. Look at that. This guy's like 4 feet up, this guy. Just a tiny, beautiful little land snail. Cruising along. 4 feet off the ground. I think he can wake up with his foot and go, oh, he's on. Good. But one thing I did recently, and I kind of wanted to check with the rains, is I started some of this. Because I'm not going to be driving out here with, you know, trying to make hay and stuff, I'm planting all these trees. I have an opening, which is cutting through here to get down to the bottom pasture. I call the one on that side of my driveway the senior pasture. This is the associate pasture. And then heading down that way, we have the bottom pasture. There's about 7 different areas fenced off that we can let these guys enjoy. And this one is the one I started working on first. And what I wanted is, nothing's really flat here in the Ozarks. I used to post pictures online and people would be like, wow, it's a beautiful sunset, but you should learn how to hold your camera straight. And I'm like, the ground is not level here. The ground is not level here. So because of that, and because we can go for long periods without rain, I thought, I have rocks available. Our soil is mostly rock and clay. What if I took rocks and kind of made little semicircles below all of our trees? This one here is a pear tree. And the original tree was an Ayers pear that we grafted Shinko onto. So some of the ones out here, and it's multiple grafts of Shinko on here. And what I wanted is to have them all be kind of like dual flavor at least. This one here is a Moonglow that has Turnbull grafted onto it. And Turnbull is a Asian European hybrid. So we've got a European pear here with an Asian European hybrid, the Turnbull grafted onto it. Here we have the Ayers, and we have a Shinko, which is an Asian grafted onto it. And there's just a number of ones. Here's one of the grafts. Right there's another one. I like Whip and Tongue. Here's another one. This is all Shinko, and then this is Ayers. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna prune it appropriately to get my limited number of Shinko grafts kind of competing rather well with the Ayers and see how that goes. And then this one here is a Kiefer pear that we grafted Surrey onto. So these leaves here are Surrey. That's the Moonglow. So kind of, or sorry, that's the Kiefer. So all these are 2 flavored, and then I thought as it rains we'll come through, and this will just kind of catch. I got some of the chicken manure, I have some old hay, some things like that, and I expect these to fill in a bit, and I expect these to eventually be rather tall, or I swap them out for bigger rocks. I just didn't want to start with that. I wanted them to kind of function as is, test, see how they're going. But then everything that gets washed down, because even years ago, I told a friend of mine, I said, hey, I found a lot of really good topsoil. He said, really, where is it? I said, down in the lake. Everything. You know, a farmer plows a field, the rain comes and washes, boom, it all fills these dry creek beds that turn into raging small rivers, essentially, and just plow it all into the lake. So I don't want it all to keep washing away. That'll build up. That'll do some things. I actually took some activated biochar I made, and I put that down first. Put a little bit of rabbit manure, I think. Added in some chicken manure, some old hay, some rotten logs and stuff, and put those kind of on top of it to hold it in place. But that'll build up over time, at least a bit. And I think it'll retain more water for these guys. It's a work in progress. So we've got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them in process. A couple of these are probably good enough to call them complete. But I wouldn't do this if I was making hay, right? I'd be pulling all the rocks out because I wouldn't want to ruin equipment. But in this situation, I think it makes sense. And then you'll see here too, if you look in here, Chinese red noodle beans are one of my top 3 garden plants. They can actually do a rather good job reseeding themselves. This is one of the Chinese red noodle beans. All the seeds are formed in here. Down here, these seeds are already drying. But my goal with this is just to grow some beans. Have some nitrogen fixing stuff get plugged in right below these fruit trees. And I learned something recently. Actually, that one there I learned from Three Feathers Farmstead. So thank you very much for letting me see that you were doing that. I took note of it and said, yep, me too, me too. But I recently was at a breakout session at an event we were at. There was a guy talking about the way that the roots interact with different things in the soil, right? And some of the stuff that can, some of the fungi and stuff. He was saying, if you are going to plant a pear tree and you know where an old pear tree is, something that's been there a while, take a little bit of the soil from where that old pear tree is and plant it where you're going to plant your new pear tree. You know, put that soil in the hole, and there's stuff in there as that original, that older pear tree has been interacting with the different microbes, the different fungi, the different stuff in the soil that's been beneficial to that pear tree. And if you drop it in the hole where you're planting your new pear tree, it starts off with a portion of that that then can reproduce and grow as the tree and the root system and that stuff gets to reproduce and grow. So I would highly recommend it. It's something I'm gonna do in the future because I got a lot more to go. This one here, I haven't done that on yet with the rocks, but this is a white mulberry, and you can see now it's pretty solid. That's probably almost 4 inches across in width, and it kind of comes up where I want and then starts spreading out. So this fence can come down and go around something else. We'll keep someone else safe, and that guy will be able to fend for itself. This pear tree is not far off. I'll probably give it 1 more year like this, and then kind of set it free, if you will. But as you head through here, there's mulberries, there's peaches, there's pears, there's apple crabs. If you're not familiar with apple crabs, some of those are absolutely fantastic. This is an Asian pear right here. We had the native persimmons and the Asian persimmons over there. This is an experiment where I'm going to take one of these 2nd generation seed peaches, and this one I'm just never going to prune. That's my goal. I'm just going to let it go, never prune it. And this one here is a little tight right now. It'll be spread out, but this one I'm pruning, so it comes up, splits into 3 nice ones. I'm going to release them a little bit, you know, expand the pen that they're in and start working on the structure more. But just kind of do a side-by-side comparison. They're both siblings. They both came from the same tree, from the same pits that were a 1st generation grown from seed peach tree here in the Ozarks. So these are 2nd gen, and that one's just never going to be pruned. This one I'm going to take a lot of care in pruning, probably more so than I normally even do, just to kind of have an extreme thing. And I want to give them similar growing habits too, environments. So I got to put one of those up on here. That's fresh. That's maybe last week. I'll make another one here right away so I don't give that one some sort of unfair advantage. But then the 2 main things I'm going to look for as I do that are disease and fruit production, and just test it out for myself. See how they do with disease and fruit production. Anyway, it was a little rainy today. It's kind of let off now. I was hoping to get a lot done outside. Figured I don't mind taking the GoPro out and getting a little wet if I have to. But thought I would at least make a video for you guys, show you what I'm doing with this, ramble a bunch about a bunch of other interesting things. And even if you look at some of these crazy like pear trees, some of the ones I've got probably have 10 or a dozen varieties on them. I still got to get a notebook out and map them. But can you imagine with all those different parent varieties right there as they cross-pollinate, what planting the seeds from some of those would do? Now, I won't know who they are or who their lineage is, but there's a chance I could get some crazy different pears growing just because there's so much genetic information available to them in the pollen of so many other varieties here. So we'll see what happens, because I want to really focus both haphazardly like that, but then also in specifically crossing different varieties, documenting, bagging, protecting, seeing, and making maybe some new varieties as well. So hope that helps. We've got a day here. Rain let up, son. If it would have been like this morning, I would have went hunting. I didn't, because it kept raining. But we're going to get to it. Let me know if you guys got any questions. Let me know if you've ever done anything similar. And encouragement goes a long way, so feel free to leave encouragement too. I'll talk to you guys later. Pop out.